everybody, it is Romania Black, and we are on episode 15 of Chihayafuru. And let me tell you, so I've got quite a few comments to go through and some announcements I'm going to make really quick right off the bat concerning the recap episode, which is 3 words that make Romania Black grind to a shattering halt in her existence. So we'll just dive right into the comments and then talk about where we're at in the series. William Pina, who is a patron over on Patreon, said for episode 13, they said, I wanted to note that episode 16, or depending on where you watch, episode 15.5, it's called both, depending on the streaming service, is a recap episode. So just wanted to let you know. And the mods approved that because they're like, yeah, you need to know that because they know that I do not like recap episodes. Especially if I'm watching week to week, I'm like, why do we need a recap episode? Why do we need it? Now, is there a reason why they did this recap episode? Probably. There's probably a number of reasons. It could have been like scheduling and they were like, we've got to take a week off, so we're just going to put this here, or they were behind schedule. I think the more likely situation is that maybe there was a gap or a break between episodes 15 and 17, and they're like, oh, we're going to catch everybody up to speed like it was a split core or something. I don't know. I'm sure someone in the comment will comment why there was a recap episode down below. However, at first I was going to just skip the recap episode entirely, which would be the one after this one. But then William Pina did say, he was like, hey, episode 16 does have some extra scenes in it, and my ears perked up and I went, bonus material. So I asked the mod, I was like, be happy. I want your honest opinion. Should I watch episode 16 this week with this episode, episode 15, or should I wait and then next week watch episode 16, talk about it, and then dive into episode 17? And Be Happy brought up a very good point. She was like, episode 14 ended on a cliffhanger, where it's Shinobu versus Chihaya. So she was like, I would watch episode 15 this week and then, start next week with 16 and 17. And I was like, that makes sense. I'll have time to stew on my theories and opinions and then come back and dive in with the recap and then jump in with episode 17. So that's what we're going to do. Next week, we're going to have a 2-episode, or an episode and a half, technically, reaction on the channel. We'll put episodes 16 and 17 together and do that. So that's the plan. But thank you, William, for pointing that out. I appreciate that. That helps me plan my schedule because I don't like recap episodes at all unless there's new material. And I've been told that there could be some new material. So we're gonna watch it for that reason. We'll just do it next week. HBanana7 for episode 13 says, this mangaka is so sadistic. Yes, this mangaka is, let me just say, knows exactly what they're doing and is so cruel, especially when it comes to the love triangle between Chihaya and Arata and Taichi. So cruel. I put on the Discord though, I'm like, I know that, we're sitting here as the audience being like, who do I ship? Do I ship Chihaya with Arata? Do I ship Chihaya with Taichi? Do I ship Arata and Taichi together? And then I said, there's the other option where Shinobu comes in and she's like, I can solve this problem. She might be like, Arata and Taichi, you guys can go off together, and then Chihaya, you can be with Shinobu, Will that happen? Of course not. But, because this show doesn't have the balls. But, I do think that this mangaka is very, very manipulative and so cruel. She knows exactly what she's doing, and she's very effective at it. Let me say that. So Sacha for episode 13, which it's so good to hear from you. Sacha is a longtime patron that has commented years and years ago for other series like Attack on Titan and other shows that I've watched, so it's really cool to hear from them. They said they were a lurker, and they came out of the shadows to comment, which is so good. Y'all, the only way I know if people watch the shows that I react to is on Patreon. I can tell who likes the videos, so I'm like, okay, this person's watching that show, cool. Or if they comment, and on YouTube it's really just if you commenting is the only way I know if you're watching the show with me. So that's why comments and likes and all that are always appreciative. They do ramp up engagement, I'm aware of that, but especially on YouTube. But it is nice to know who's watching and just be like, oh, okay, cool, you like that show as well, awesome, nice. But Sacha said for episode 13, our feelings at the end which that statement, our feelings at the end of episode 13, is so important to me. It's easy to forget sometimes that Taichi really cares about Arata too. His emotions are definitely complicated and twisted with jealousy and the rivalry in his head, but he was just as desperate as Chihaya on that train to reach Arata and express that they missed him. God, I love these three so much. Yuki Sui Sugu, I guess that's the mangaka's name, is such a master at character dynamics. That's one of the reasons I love this show. I love character development. I love character work. Characters are the main reasons why I love stories. I love plots of stories, obviously, but characters are what really drive home stories for me, and characters are relatable, and we learn from them, and we learn stuff about ourselves through these characters and what they represent. So I'm a very character-driven person when I watch shows, and she is such a good character writer. And yes, Taichi has grown so much already. And the thing that gets me is that we're only in season 1. We're only on episode 15 of season 1, and we've gotten so much. It's just like, I have to keep telling myself there's 2 more seasons after this. So thank you, Sacha. Alexandra Q for episode 13 says, one thing that frustrates me is Arata's parents leaving him to care for his grandfather alone. Yes, I bet it's hard for them, seeing someone they love like this and having to give up on many things in their lives to care for him. For all we know, this might have been the first time the mom left to do something for herself. And yet, Arata was a teenager that shouldn't have had to give up or choose between going to the Karuta competition or care for his grandfather. That's his parents' job, and it's an unfair responsibility to put on his shoulders. Which, yeah, whenever Alexandra Q said it like that, I thought, yeah, I'm sure he mentioned the Karuta tournament before, so the parents knew that it was happening that day. So did the mom really need to go out? Was there no one else that could watch the grandfather, like not the neighbors or anything else, knowing what that meant to Arata? So anyway, they continue by saying, it speaks highly of Arata that he doesn't complain at all about having to do it. It does, but I also don't blame him at all for taking the first chance he got to do what he wanted. And yeah, that made me think, like, all 3 of our main trio, like Arata, Taichi, and Chihaya, all have not perfect parents by any means of the definition. Like, usually parents usually in anime or in any narrative whatsoever usually fall into 2 camps, where they're either super supportive, gung-ho, you can do it, and your mom and dad are supporting you all the way, or they're like detached, despondent, estranged, not reactive, and completely separated from the child whatsoever, and they don't show up until it's convenient for the plot. Here, the mangaka, again, very realistically and very smartly, has parents that are around that do provide some support, but then do crazy things like this where you're like, what? Like Taichi's mom being controlling like she is. Chihaya's parents having 7 volumes on their one child, but they just now at age 15 or 16 or 17 started a volume on Chihaya. What? So yeah, it's just wild times, but it does feel more realistic, right? Alexander Q also says the little detail of Chihaya telling Arata that she wanted to win with her team reminded me of when they were younger, and all Chihaya wanted was to win with her team, Arata and Taichi, and how to this point, she has not been able to do it either time because someone has gotten sick, Arata the first time around, and now herself. I forgot that Arata had gotten sick back when we started the series, and that was the reason they didn't win, was because of his sickness. So, okay, Taichi, you got to finish the trifecta. When are you getting sick? When are you getting the germs so that you can cause them not to win? Because it's all going to have to happen. Taichi's going to have to experience that at some point. We'll just have to see. So, finally, we're going to take it back one more episode to Foranoda, who had a comment for episode 12 about the poem of the day for that episode. The poem of the day isn't actually from the Ogura Hyakunin Isshu, but from the collection of 10,000 Leaves, or Manyoshu. It's volume 1, poem 20, Princess Nukata. As he patrols the shimmering crimson Gromwell fields, staked off as imperial domain, won't the guardian of the fields notice you waving your sleeves at me? Note, this above is my, as in the Redditors for wants to acknowledge, own translation cobbled from multiple different sources, as I didn't personally love any one source I found in its totality. Translation is such an art, and I was talking about this with another series, but I hate AI, cannot stand it. I despise when my coworkers are using ChatGPT. I'm like, think for yourselves, be critical thinkers, you're ruining your brains. But I have read and watched a lot of stuff recently about companies trying to use AI for translation. And not only is AI not perfect enough to do that effectively, I mean, we've seen how Google Translate has been for how long now, but also it's like translation is an art form. When you alter something from one language to another, you will lose meaning no matter how perfect or true to the other language's definition the translation is. Something is lost. Every time you translate, something is lost, because language, once you transition it, that transformation, it's like a chemical transition. It just, something changes and it's not as it once was. So it's like, I like the idea of trying to fish through different translations to see which one seems to most accurately represent. I love that organic quality of translation, and I just needed to get on my soapbox about AI for a hot second. Kana tells the rest of the Karuta team that the above poem is her personal favorite. She recounts the story of Princess Nukata, who was once consort to Prince Oma before becoming the wife of his older brother Emperor Tenji, possibly by force. Nukata was one of the most talented poets at court, and the poem above is Nukata's message to Prince Oma. She is worried the Imperial Guards will notice Oma waving his sleeve at her in her husband's hunting fields. These fields were adjacent to Lake Biwa and contained Murasaki grass or gromwale plants, which were used in creating purple dye. The poem starts with the words Akane Sasu, or matter shining, which I have translated to shimmering. I like matter shining. That's such a cool phrase. Akane, or madder, plants are a source of red dye. The mixture of red and purple imagery is what leads to crimson as a description of the color of fields. Nice! Romantically, Prince Oma composed a poem in reply to this one, Volume 1, Poem 21, Prince Oma. If I did not care for you, who are as beautiful as the glowing purple of gromwale plants, would I dare to be so madly in love with you, knowing full well that you are another man's wife? Look, you know, if we're looking at that poem, we could honestly look at that poem and you could look at it from two different perspectives. You could look at it from the perspective of Arata watching Taichi grab Chihaya in his arms, even though it's an episode later, and think that about her, or as it, about her being with Taichi, or as it pertains more to the episode at hand, episode 12, it's more like Taichi looking at Chihaya, who's thinking of Arata and thinking that, how does he feel daring to be so madly in love with her, knowing full well that she is tied right now to Arata, even though we've talked about how she's, I think Taichi's a little bit mistaken, but he doesn't know that. So yeah, that's, the implications, y'all, the implications. So anyway, Foreknoda says, while this poem is Kana's favorite, it affects Chihaya as well. The burning crimson of Tatsuda River also defines her as a character. She tells Kana that it stands out like a red marker to her in a field of cards. This is followed by her memory of asking Arata to describe Omijingu to her when she was younger. She remembers his one-word reply of crimson, describing the gates, but also the feeling of reaching it. When aligned with the poem that defines this episode and our knowledge that we now know Chihaya pines to be reunited with Arata, I get the feeling that she wouldn't mind him waving his sleeve at her. Though he's not a former husband or anything, he is closely associated with the feelings of love for her, having instilled in Chihaya her love of Karuta in the first place. Chihaya yearns to feel that closeness once more, and Omijingu's gates, which just happened to be what used to be a field just west of Lake Biwa, bring her one step closer to that goal. Omijingu also happens to be a shrine dedicated to none other than Emperor Tenji. Yeah, I just, the card being crimson, it's just all that. And Chihaya associates, what's so funny about it is she associates such romantic feelings to Karuta and to Arata. And you could argue, if you're Team Taichi, you could argue that the crimson and the love is really for her and Arata towards Karuta, and not necessarily towards each other. They both love Karuta so much, but then they both share that love of Karuta, and it makes it seem like they're in love. Or you could say that they're in love and Taichi's the third wheel. You can organize it however you want to, and that's why this mangaka is sadistic. Because you can kind of justify any belief system you want to with these poems interpretations. That's the majesty of poetry. It's up for interpretation. So it's like, love, love, love. Thank you, Forinoda, for your kind explanation of episode 12. I'm excited to hear more in the future. But yeah, sorry that took a long time, but this episode was great. And then episode 14, the one we just watched last week, has Chihaya, of all people, facing, of all people, Shinobu, who is the queen right now. Do I think Chihaya is going to win this? No. Do I think that she's already got a couple cards as of the end of this last episode. Do I think Chihaya is going to, advance a little bit more than most people do against Shinobu? Yeah. My hope is by the end of this episode, Chihaya is invigorated and has like a rival that she's pursuing, right? She's pursuing the rival of Shinobu as hers. I mean, if we have Taichi versus Arata, we got to have Shinobu versus Chihaya. That seems only natural. But anyway, yeah. I'm ready to start episode 15 of Chihayafuru, and I hope you all are as well. So we're going to get started here and check this episode out. Thank you all so much for commenting and for watching along with me. We're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1, and I'll see you all on the other side. Ooh. That's that good stuff. Oh man, wow, okay. That episode did not go the way I was planning on it going, and in the best way. Like every time I think I know where this series is headed, they throw in a curveball and I'm like, oh, that's not what I expected. But it's a good curveball to throw, because walking into this episode, I'm not gonna lie, before we started the reaction, I was thinking to myself, okay, she's gotten 2 cards from Shinobu. We as the audience know she's not gonna win. It's episode 15 of season 1, and there's already 3 seasons. We can't have Chihaya get to the pinnacle of defeating the queen right off the bat. So in my head, I was wondering to myself before I started this episode, what are we gonna do this week? Because we know that the game was over halfway through when we got to that point at the end of episode 14. So I'm like, surely the entire episode is not going to focus on the rest of Chihaya losing this game. Surely they're not going to drag it out. Oh no. Oh no, no, no. Instead, we focus not only on Chihaya realizing her dream, and she has a rival now, she has a goal, she has multiple goals, but Taichi, our boy Taichi, has stepped up and decided that, yes, bitch, I am going to move up to Class A rank. I am going to win. He said he wanted to win the Class B rank, but I'm like, dude, why settle for that? Go to Class A rank so you can face Arata. Go do that. Yes. But, this episode is great. There's a lot to talk about, so we need to just dive into it and do that. I think one of the best things about this episode is just establishing Chihaya is not a perfect girl. Right? She is not a perfect girl. Chihaya is got some flaws. We're going to talk about one of those flaws when we get into this episode a little bit deeper. But Chihaya, one of the great things is that she is not flustered in ways that most people would probably get flustered in a high-stress situation. She doesn't give up. Chihaya is the Goku of Karuta. She does not give up. Girl keeps fighting. And I love the positivity that she carries with her from the end of this episode. She has found a rival that is the pinnacle of Karuta for her. And she's like, okay, I know what I gotta do now. I know what I gotta do. We've started an enemies to lovers arc with Shinobu. And I think Shinobu's down with it, so it's cool. But also, I'm gonna tell you all in this episode, it was a little distracting because like at, what is this set at 13 seconds into the episode, go to this episode, go to 13 seconds in, and look at the people behind Taichi. This one guy he has like one eye up, like, what are they doing? Like, he has the weirdest expressions. Some of the background character expressions in this episode were a little distracting because they were funny. Like, but not funny in a like, funny in an unintentional way. I don't know what the animation was doing, but also I want to know, did Taichi, I want to get Miyano Mamoru. I want to look up his resume. I know it's ever so long, but I want to know, when did he start? When did he start doing Chihayafuru? This was from 2012. God, this was 13 years ago. I'm not old at all. And so, let me see here. 2012, he was doing Chihayafuru. When, oh, this will answer my question. When was Death Note's anime? Okay, Death Note's anime was 2006. Oh, wow. Death Note's a lot older than I thought. Wow, Death Note is way older than I thought. So Miyano Mamoru had played the main character of Death Note like over half a decade prior to playing Taichi in this series. And whenever Taichi goes into super hypercritical mode, we'll talk about it more during his match, but he breaks things down in a way that reminds me of Light Yagami from Death Note in a totally different way, but it's still very similar. And so in my head, I'm thinking like, as a voice actor, I'm sure that Miyano Mamoru did not have to channel too hard to get into that mode with Taichi's character. Just make him more likable. But man, another thing that Taichi's so great at is Taichi's an overthinker. That is, Taichi and Chihaya are on polar ends of the spectrum. Let me tell you, on the attention span spectrum, because Taichi's biggest fault is he overthinks things sometimes. He overthinks things sometimes, and he doubts himself. He second guesses himself when he shouldn't, right? Chihaya's problem is that she does the polar opposite of overthinking. She gets so hyper-focused on this one thing. Taichi's focused on 1,000 things at once. 1,000 things at once. And we see that in his match. He is going through like savant levels of mind mazes as he's competing. Chihaya is just like, I gotta keep my groove. She's just so hyper-focused on this one aspect. And we'll talk about it a little more when we get to Taichi's match. But it hinders her sometimes because she gets so hyper-focused. The problem is, as she has learned in this match, Shinobu is hyper-focused as well, but Shinobu is hyper-focused in a much broader area of spatial awareness, whereas Chihaya needs to work on that. So I'm glad that this is giving us, like, you know, things for Chihaya to work on in the next year or so. These people in the crowd, they were not kind to Chihaya. They had no faith in her, right? And I'm like, look, they do say Shinobu is just a first year in high school. She probably has a breaking point. And I think the breaking point is, oddly enough, Chihaya not giving up and playing to win. And Taichi kind of gets onto her mentally by being like, don't make it obvious to your opponent. But that's kind of what gets Shinobu fired up. And the fact that she's like, you're not giving up, which is so ironic compared to last week, because last week Shinobu's like, oh, I wish that they would just all like not give up so early on in the match and they would just play me a little bit longer. And now Chihaya's doing it and she's like, why are you doing this? Like, it's just like, yes! I just also, look, I know, is the likelihood of Shinobu and Arata teaming up at any given point possible? Probably not. They'll probably be in the same space at some point, but probably not. But hear me out. The aesthetic, the mangaka, listen to me. The aesthetic, I know you've already wrote these scenes. I'm gonna have to experience them. But the aesthetic of two dark-haired, blue-eyed characters who represent moon and water and ice and coolness going up against two strawberry blonde, orange-eyed characters who represent sun and warmth and fire. I mean, the symbolism is there. It's poetic cinema. It's just, it's there, right? So we're leading up to, we have goals now. Chihaya wants to face the queen eventually. We don't know who the master is. They don't introduce the master. Chihaya is not necessarily going to face the master. She's going to face the queen. I guess she could face the master. I don't know how that works. If it's like, Karuta has up until this point been very co-ed, and at the very end we see Pseudo facing Shinobu. So by all means, if Pseudo had, let's say if he'd won against Shinobu, would he have been the queen? No, I'm sure Pseudo would have been okay with that, but hashtag our feminist icon. But I guess maybe it's just whoever is the top playing female character is the queen, whoever's the top playing male character is the master. We'll go with that. Sure. Okay. But at least Chihaya has a rival, which is Shinobu to be the queen. And Arata may have a rival in Taichi wanting to be the master. Because, I mean, I'm all for this rivalry. I'm all for this development, right? I also love that Chihaya got under Shinobu's skin. That was so good. So good. Love it. All right, I'm going to miss this OP when it's done. As though pearls have been strung across the autumn plain, I thought that could have meant a lot of things. I thought it could have meant, and I'm sure for Renota, who has done so well in giving us the interpretations of the poems, I'm sure that there's going to be meaning to it. I interpret it as either they talk about like the stars across the sky or across a sunset. You could talk about it as teardrops being the pearls because there's a lot of crying in this episode. You could talk about it in a lot of different ways. I'm excited to hear what the translation is going to be. But yeah, so Chihaya got in her groove, but it's just a matter of talent. And it's just a matter at 3 minutes and 2 seconds, the look that Shinobu gives, sometimes when they animate Shinobu, she looks like a damn sea witch. Sometimes when they animate her, that shot at 3 minutes and 2 seconds, I don't know if y'all watched the 80s movie, the Care Bears movie. My parents let me watch some really dark stuff when I was a kid, and you would think the Care Bears movie would not be dark, but it is surprisingly a little bit out there. But there's like a character named Nicholas that's like the antagonistic character. He's not really a bad guy, but he's an antagonist, and he gets kind of pseudo-possessed by this book. You should go look up the Care Bears movie from the 80s. It's wild. The first original one. But his face when he gets possessed by the book is kind of like Shinobu's. In this one, I don't know if there's a comparison. I don't know if I'll see if I can find a comparison, but she has kind of like sallow skin a little bit, so it just kind of looks like it. I'm going to take a screenshot and see if I can put it up here for you all to compare and show you why I believe the things that I do. But yeah, and then Taichi being so concerned for Chihaya because Taichi he's worried about her well-being and he cares about her and he wants her to be, you know, upbeat and enthusiastic about Karuta because he's like, damn it, you've drugged me back into this sport. Don't lose hope now. And she doesn't, but it does the opposite. But he talks about how multi-syllable cards are her weakness. 1-syllable and 2-syllable cards are her like bread and butter. Multi-syllable cards, she can't remember all of them. So again, I like the series setting up. We're only in season 1, but setting up here are things we can work on, right? And so yeah, she does good. I think 5 cards. I don't remember how many cards I said in the last episode she would get, if it was 5 or whatever, but I do think she made a lot of progress considering some of her opponents that are also class A rank got none. I think that it's important that she at least got enough to shake Shinobu, enough to make her be like, who are you? Who the hell are you? You know? And God, our girl, ever theatrical. I almost wondered if somebody was going to like make a joke out of it because she pauses and looks around and she's like, oh, because I wasn't getting up and moving around, I didn't get a chance to loosen up. And that is a big factor. I'm like, oh yeah, if you were like kneeling on a mat the entire game without getting up and moving around, that would start to hurt. I would get sore. I'm in my 30s, so I get sore a lot faster than Chihaya. But yeah, that would get, you know, a little bit disorienting after a while. But she talks there about, you know, the idea of my body is starting to loosen up again. And when she put her hand up against the light, it was very symbolic and theatrical, but all I could think of is, girl, I was waiting for Shinobu to be like, are you coming back? Like, are you coming back to finish the match? Or are you going to stand there and be theatrical for 5 seconds? Our girl's sister is a model and an actress, but I think Chihaya could give her a run for her money, you know? She's like, I want to become faster and freer during a match. Who's so strong, when facing someone who's so strong that I'm scared stiff, I can move freely. And I love that she sits there being like, free. Is this the whole point of it? Is this what it means to be a strong player, to be free? And that is kind of it, right? If you're weak, and if you are a weak player, you do kind of get boxed in and stuck in this constrictive environment where you're not moving. And it's detrimental to your health and success in the match. So for her to be like, being a strong player means that I'm free. What other series have I watched where the message was to be strong is to be free? What message? What? Run with the Wind! Run with the Wind! Yes, if you've not watched Run with the Wind, it's only like 23 episodes. Go put it in your docket. Go get it in your queue. Just watch it. If you don't have time now, put it on your list for winter, like that weird awkward space between Christmas and New Year's where time doesn't exist and the flow of time and space is like trapped in a vortex. Mark it down for that time and watch Run with the Wind during that break because it is so good. It's one of my favorite sports animes, but it has a message of to be free is to be strong is to be free. That's one of the messages that's in that. Also, it's probably in Free Utobi Swim Club, but that should be pretty obvious, right? But yeah, to be strong is to be able to do what you can. And so that's a big message in that series as well. And so I like Chihaya realizing this. It's almost kind of insulting to Shinobu in a way. Because, you know, what if Chihaya had told her, been like, wow, thank you. I learned a lot from my match with you. And Shinobu's like, I'm a tutorial for you? Like, I feel like there's a way, if she had worded it a certain way, that Shinobu could have came across as being offended. Because Chihaya really, at this point, I think she wants to win. She's trying to win, but she's also kind of aware that it's possible she might not. And she knows that because of the level of competition that she's facing. But man, 20 cards. 20 cards was the difference, which is better than the other person, which was 25. But yeah, 20 cards. I feel for, you know, poor Chihaya. She's like sitting there processing the match. And she's like, I was only able to take 5 cards. And the queen is still... But man, the fact that Shinobu slowly closed that door and then she power walked her way back to that table to see who that person she was facing was. And like the one guy was like, oh, how much did you win by, queen? How'd it go? And then to see her face, she looked so pissed. She kind of looks like Arata in a funny way, but she looked so pissed. She's like, who is this? Ayase Chihaya. And she's like, Chihaya. Like, that is one of my favorite parts of sports anime is when rivalries form and the one rival's like, you're a threat to me. We're going to be rivals. Like, I love it. I love it. She's like, next time I won't let you take a single card. Okay, Byakuya. Or not Byakuya. Okay, Bakugo. I was getting my Bleach characters in here. But, you know, well, actually... Byakuya would work in this scenario as well. Maybe that's why I was thinking of it. But in terms of like rivalries, I think of like Bakugo and Deku from My Hero Academia being like, I'm not going to let you get any points or whatever. You know, yeah, you know, I love it. I won't let you take a single card next time. Girl, she will. The thing that gets me is that Chihaya like walks up to her and this guy who like just saw her be tripping balls pissed she's like, oh, hey, hi. And he's like, what the fudge? I would have the same reaction he did. At 6 minutes and 36 seconds. Look at this guy's face. It is the face of a man who's seen some shit. This episode has some great moments of background characters. It's great. But yeah, and so Chihaya, you know, she could be distraught. She could be sad about losing the match, but instead she's kind of like, oh, hey, you know, now that the match is over, we can talk and be best friends. Again, this is literally Goku and Vegeta. It's literally Goku and Vegeta. It's literally that from like season 1 of Dragon Ball Z. It's literally Shinobu is Vegeta and Chihaya is Goku. And she's like, oh, and she's like, your Snow Maru t-shirt is really cute. How can you resist Chihaya? She's so precious and she's so kind. And instead of being like, you know, mad that she won, she throws this compliment. No wonder everybody loves her. And she's like, your shirt's really cute. And then Shinobu's like, wait, what? And her, like, her Yuri Sapphic arometer, like, starts going off. And she's like, wait, the snowman has a name? Which is amazing to me because last week I was like, oh, she likes the same brand of clothes that Chihaya likes. No, girl ain't even paying attention to that. She just saw that damn snowman shirt and was like, fits my demeanor. And just got it without even questioning it, right? I love the guy in the background again that's like, God, what am I watching? He's like, these teenage girls. Other people can recognize it? Well, yeah, if you know the brand. I love it. And that's the last we see of that scene with her. Amazing. Amazing. So one thing that stood out to me was Taichi, as he's walking back, he's going to check on her. The have soaked red with tears of blood. That card specifically, if I'm remembering correctly, was said whenever Chihaya was struggling in a previous episode. They literally called that exact card. Like, and I'm curious if they're going to make like, you know, a habit or a pattern of pointing out these specific cards for certain moods, because that was a card she struggled with. And then he's like, oh, and he stops himself, and Taichi has to think on it for a second. And then he kind of doubts himself and slows down and says, what's wrong with me? I'm more upset than she is. Well, that's because you care about her, Taichi. He's like, she lost by 20 cards. The queen's that much better than her. I mean, are we surprised? She's the queen. She's the top player. He's like, knowing her, she's probably asleep. I love the detail of all the shoes. There are so many shoes that are just lined up there. It's so wild. But the thing is, she is not asleep. She's so hyped. She's got adrenaline rushing from that moment, and she's crying because she's mad that she lost. And she's saying, I have to memorize. I have to memorize straight, swift. Like, girl's fired up. She's like, I want to beat this woman, and I know where I'm lacking, and I got to get better. I love it. I love it. She's like, I need to listen hard. Like, she's not beating herself up necessarily, but instead she's not beating herself up, but she's pointing out, like, girl, you thought you were the shit, and you came in here and was like, I want to face the queen, and you got put in your place. And you figured out very quickly that you've got a long way to go. And what I love about it is she's not deterred or mad. She's just sad that she's probably sad at her own hubris. And she's like, what do I have to do to beat her? I love it. I love how fired up she is. And Taichi, because he sees all, he's like, today is the day. Today is the day. It's the start for her. This is the start of her. This is the day that Chihaya's dream became real. Because before, you know, we've, you know, Nishida and the others have kind of debated, like, well, why did we go to nationals? Why did we do this? And a lot of things was to see Arata. Well, seeing Arata is not, you know, a big dream. It's happened twice now. So, you know, it's not something that's like far off. It's already happened. And her being in a match with Arata, now that's a dream, sure. But I feel like Arata is not Chihaya's rival. She idolizes him. So he's not a rival to her. He's like an end goal. My end goal is to face you in a match, and I want to be good enough to play against you and not insult you, to give you a match worthy of the person that taught me the love of Karuta in the first place. But that's not a rivalry. That's like, you're my dream mentor that I want to face, you know, down the road. But with Shinobu, that is a rivalry. That is a goal. And that's tangible. She's like, I've already faced the queen once, and I didn't not take a card. So there's a chance I can get better, and I can face her, and I can give her a better match. So yeah, I love that. I agree with Taichi. This is the day that she got a dream. And then Taichi's like, a dream. And then we flash back and he sees the next time we'll meet in a match. And I love this for Taichi's character, because Taichi at the beginning of this series was like, oh, I'm never going to catch up to Arata. There's no way. I'll never get Class A. What's the point? And all of this. And he's been inspired by Chihaya, because she literally has done the thing he was afraid of. And he was afraid that he'd never be able to beat Arata. What's the point? I'm just going to face him and lose to him. Then what? Chihaya has just done that. Because to Arata, the best player in Karuta is probably Arata, to Taichi. And to Chihaya, she's met the best player in her division, which is Shinobu. So I feel like Taichi's like, why am I afraid? Chihaya has literally just faced the fear that I have, and she's come out on the other side, and now she's going to pursue it all over again. Why am I afraid? Why am I waiting and not just pursuing this because I'm afraid? And that's when they announced that Class B's third round is about to begin. I did feel a little bit bad that he didn't like say anything to Chihaya, And honestly, I think if he had snapped her out of her obsession in that moment, she would have gone down to see his match right away, and she would have been immediately supportive of him. But again, one of Chihaya's weaknesses is that she gets hyper-focused about something, and she sometimes loses sight of her surroundings. And it's not a terrible flaw, but it is a flaw, and I like that she has it. It's been consistent so far. But I like that she has it because it makes her not a Mary Sue. You know, she does have flaws. She's not a perfect being. Because she gets so hyper-focused on the match and what she needs to do that she does forget about the others that are still playing, including Taichi, who came to watch and support her. Because she did see him watching and supporting her. That was the one thing that made me so mad, was the fact that he saw her and she saw him, but then when it was his final match, I don't think he saw the others, or maybe he did right before the end. Maybe he did notice them. But anyway, so Pseudo made it to the final. Good for Pseudo. Pseudo made it to the final against our dear Shinobu. Now, Pseudo got beat by Chihaya, but he only lost by 15 cards? Was it 10 cards? I think maybe, yeah, it was the championship. And so he's like, this is my last year, so I thought you might let me win. And she's like, bitch, no. Which, yeah, you know, that's always such a weird thing. It kind of bugged me a little bit when people like do favoritism based on your seniority in competition. I was always like, but no, if someone's better than you and they're younger, that's, you know, not their problem. They shouldn't have to concede to you just because you're older, you know? So I love that she's just like, well, I was just really scared you might beat me, so I just didn't hold back. Loved it. So yes, yeah, so she's a champion again. She never joined a Karuta society. Interesting. So her and Arata are kind of similar in the facts that up until today, as far as we know, Arata didn't join a society either. His grandfather just taught him. So I wonder, it keeps showing us with Shinobu by herself. So I'm curious what her backstory is. We'll find out, if not this season, down the road, I'm sure. But that's interesting that she's not with a society. She's always by herself. I guess there's no distractions if you're by yourself, but still. So yeah, so poor Tsutomu and Kana got out in the third round. They tried their best. I don't think they said when Nishida got out of his round, but he didn't make it to the final. And she's like, well, that's because you were watching Class A matches the entire time. So she was watching the whole time. Which, you know, I'm glad Kana and Tsutomu don't get mad at her for not coming and watching them. I'm glad that they don't get mad at her because I've told y'all I coach a team. And when we go to tournaments, if someone doesn't break into finals or if they don't advance to the next round and their teammates do, we always give them the option. We're like, okay, you can do one of two things. You're not just going to sit around and sulk or sit around and be sad or mopey that you didn't break, because it happens to everybody. But you have two options. You can either go watch one of your teammates and support them, or if they don't want you there to support, because sometimes you want your teammates there to support you, but with public speaking, it's a little bit different. And public speaking, people can get a little bit of stage fright around people that they know. So I've had some team members that they want support. They want their friends to come watch. They're like, oh, I need someone there to reassure me, give me a comforting presence. But then I have some people that are like, oh no, I will get nervous if you are there watching me. Please do not watch me in the final. And it's like, okay, respect the wishes of the person speaking. So I always tell students, I'm like, either go to the final round or the out round of your teammate if they want you there and they're okay with it, or you need to go watch the final round that you didn't make it to and see what those people are doing. Because watching people that are in those upper rounds, if you don't break, will show you what you're lacking or what they're looking for as judges, and will help you get better. And so, yeah, so I mean, I don't get mad. I know some people get mad if their teammates don't come watch them, but I'm kind of indifferent. It can go both ways. I've been as a competitor, I've loved having my teammates watch me. It's made me feel good. But then in other rounds, like one time, one of my teammates, he was so tired from competing that day, he fell asleep in the round he came to watch me in. And I was like, wake up. So it did the cause and effect. So I don't ever get mad, and I don't think teammates should get mad if the others don't, come watch them. So I'm glad that Kana and them, she's like, oh, also when Chihaya says she hasn't had anything to eat, real feeling. Because when you're competing for a day, you can get so caught up in the adrenaline and what's going on, you can forget to eat. So I always pack snacks and I give them to the team members. I'm like, eat during the day. Don't forget to eat. You need to have at least a snack, right? And she's like, Chihaya, that doesn't matter right now. Mashima-kun is in the Class B final. And then she's like, oh, yeah, let's go cheer him on. Absolutely. I think there's a part of Chihaya that just assumes that Taichi is going to do well, that she kind of just takes it for granted a little bit. I feel like she's so... It's interesting. I feel like Chihaya has a lot of faith in Taichi and believes he's good. And she's like, oh, you'll be fine. You're Taichi. Which is almost ironic because Taichi does not have a lot of faith in himself. And it's like, you should believe in yourself like Chihaya believes in you. And then you'd be so much better. But hindsight. So I love the red and blue motif. We have the one guy that ends up winning. They had the pep crew with him. And he has the red shirt. Taichi has the blue shirt, And Taichi's trying so hard. He's gotten fired up. And he thinks back to what Dr. Harada said, where he was like, I could spend my entire youth on Karuta and without ever becoming better than Harada. And Harada's like, well, save that for after you've actually tried. I love that comes back in this. Because, yeah, he's like, how are you going to know? How are you going to know? If you keep saying that you're not, it's a mentality. If you tell me, you're like, oh, I'm never going to be that person. You won't. You just won't. You'll psych yourself out and you won't. But if you try and you work hard, yeah, you can beat them. I've seen it happen all the time. But if you convince yourself you're not going to, you won't do it. It's very psychological. He's like, he's like, I love that he says, Dr. Harada, can I really do it? Can I lose? Cry? But continue to advance? To catch up to Harada? It's so interesting. We don't get inside Arata's head to know what he's thinking, but I don't think Arata views Taichi as a rival. I don't think he views Chihaya as a rival. I think Arata views himself as his rival because it's literally him keeping himself from Karuta. I think Arata is way over here battling his own inner demons and his own past. Meanwhile, Taichi's like, I gotta catch up to Arata. I'm his rival and all this. And Arata's like, are we? Just news to me. But it's so interesting. But yeah. And then and then Nishida's like, you're late. Nishida's blunt as ever. I love it. So poor Taichi, but man, they talk about the fault happening, and then Nishida's like, when you're tired, you forget the order, and you can have perfect concentration, still make mistakes. The fact that he's been playing 6 games in a day is crazy. Crazy. And Taichi's so hard on himself. He tells himself to review the cards, and he goes into this. Taichi's mind palace is wild. Taichi's mind palace when he's playing a game is insane. It's so crazy. It's cool. I love it, but it is wild. And to see him break everything down, like Chihaya just has like Gohan's bird from Cell Saga playing behind her as like epic orchestras blare, and she's just so hyper focused on the vibe and the groove. Taichi is breaking it down like Einstein's laws of physics. He's just going to town trying to break this apart. And it just shows how much he thinks about it. And I love Chihaya reaching over. What I love about her reaching for Tsutomu's hand is Tsutomu wasn't just like, does she have a crush on me? No. He knew exactly what it was for. It was like teammates wanting to support teammates. And she wants Taichi to win so badly that she needs to like express that emotion to someone. And then Tsutomu expresses it to Kana. And then Kana goes to express it to Nishida. But Nishida is so tense that I love Kana reading the room and being like, you don't have the same vibe we do about this, and that's okay. I love that she like takes the hand off. It's such a cool little moment. But yeah. And then I feel like Taichi, does he notice them beside him? I feel like he does. He's like, I want to move faster, but my arm can't keep up. My mind is fine. But he realizes he doesn't have the stamina, right? And Fujisaki, who's a character in another series that I'm watching, so funny coincidence. But yeah, so he realizes his stamina is not up to par with his mental capabilities. Which again, good. Glad Taichi is realizing what he needs to do. And he's like, I lost by 3 cards. I was playing a third year. This was his last year. I should be proud that I got second, but second hurts. When Nishida said second hurts, it's like, yeah, it does. It really does hurt. The silver medal can be tense. The bronze hurts just as much, but I do admit, yeah, second place sucks because you're so close. So close, but yet so far. And it takes on like a double meaning with Taichi, because Taichi constantly thinks he's the second player. Taichi constantly thinks he's the silver medal. Like, always the bridesmaid, never the bride. Always the groomsman, never the groom. Taichi is like, I'm second place to Arata. And I'm second place in this tournament. Taichi's like, I'm being a jack of all trades, master of none. And it's like, no, you just gotta keep working, Taichi. You just gotta keep working and you'll get there. You'll get there. But I love he's like, he thinks the team is disappointed in him, but they're really sad for him. They're like, that sucks. And they're crying for him. I do want to say, again, this was in 2012, so 'twas a different time, even 13 years ago. But when Taichi's like, oh, don't cry, at first I was like, oh, my dude. At first, I thought he was like, oh, manly men don't cry. And I'm like, yes, they do. Yes, they do. There's like a video circulating around of Macho Man Randy Savage, who is a U.S. wrestler, and he's like talking to Arsenio Hall in 1992 about, yeah, men cry. They have emotions. Duh, we're human. Love that clip. But at first when he said that, I was like, oh, don't be toxic masculinity, Taichi. But then he says, I shouldn't cry when I haven't put in the time. And I was like, oh, that's genius writing, mangaka. Because, yeah, his whole thing from the beginning was he's not put in the effort. He's been naturally talented enough to skate by and be okay and above par, but he's never put in the time and effort to elevate himself. He's just kind of like rode off by like an A- his whole life, being like, yeah, I got this A-, I can skate by. And now he's like, no, I want to get an A+, so I got to put some work in. So I get him saying, what right do I have to cry when I've been goofing off and Chihaya has been working her ass off and I've just been over here doing what? Love, love, love it, love it. Meanwhile, Shinobu gets her trophy. And then I love that the Empress is like, it's difficult to accept defeat, but they aren't trying to console each other. I've experienced that too. When you leave a tournament and you look back and the ones that did well, you know, you congratulate them and they're feeling really excited. But usually the ones that haven't done well, they're not like having pity parties for themselves. They're sitting there going, okay, what do I got to do? And you get, that's when you know you're into a sport, is when you get that competitive hunger. You're like, okay, I want to do better. What do I got to do? What do I got to do? What do I got to do to get there? Right? So everybody gets their duffel bags. I do love all the little details of them getting their duffel bags. I thought that was super cute. But Chihaya giving a bow to the tournament with all the like fireflies and the stars and everything out. I love that, because it's like her thanking the tournament for being like, I'm so grateful I got to come here to nationals to compete, and I also got to realize my dream, and I got to face the queen, like, of all people. Like, how often does that happen at nationals? So I love her. Chihaya's too good for this world. She's too pure. Love her. Meanwhile, I love the one teacher who doesn't really have any clubs. He's like, who's out here so early in the morning? He has like a little cat face. He reminds me of one of the characters of Kuroko's Basketball who has the little cat face. Cute. And then the Empress is like, look, I'm old as dirt. You're going to help me be a co-sponsor. I want her to get him to be a co-sponsor. She's like, I can't be traveling to all these tournaments. I'm old. I got bad knees. You're young. Get on that train, damn it. I hope he joins. We need an equal balance of presence here. So yeah. So Taichi's like, okay, we've identified issues we got to do, but the main problem is we've got to have more stamina, because we're getting too tired during these matches and we lose focus. And I'm like, give us a game plan, Taichi. So anyway, Nishida is like, in terms of actual skill, I'm not worse than Mashima. I'm aiming to win Class B, which is great. I feel like Tsutomu and Kana want to do the best they can in their rank, and you know, Nishida wanting to win Class B. Hell yeah. Taichi, you better shoot for Class A so you can face Arata. You better be doing that. You better be doing that. Also, I love the continuity of Chihaya is the best runner because she's done track, so that matters. I love the nightmare she has of the damn Snowmaru, though. That's so funny. It's so cheesy. I love it. I love it so much. And then the little detail of her face, like, scrunching up against the mat. That's really good. Also, good on Nishida for eating after exercising. I've read that you're supposed to, like, not eat before exercising because you can get cramps and things like that. But then also it gives you, like, a hunger. And then you're supposed to, like, have your carbs and eat and everything afterwards. Look, I'm on a health journey right now because last year I found out I couldn't run anymore because I kept getting shin splints, and my physician was like, yeah, that's a sign that your legs ain't going to be long-term runner legs. And I was like, So I've been trying to, like, start this year, specifically in the last month or two, like doing more weight training and doing more swimming when I can, and doing like bicycling and things that are a little less impact on my shins. And so I'm trying to, like, get into healthier habits with that. So I feel for Nishida right there, right? So this dream sequence, can we talk about this? Can we talk about this dream sequence? Where Chihaya says, I've been dreaming about Shinobu-chan a lot lately. And then she thinks in her head, Samaru too. She won't say out loud that she's been dreaming about Snowmaru, but that's freaking hilarious. So, you know, she's been dreaming about Shinobu-chan because, you know, that's her rival. That's her goal. She wants to face them now. And Kana's like, oh, isn't she the current queen? And Chihaya's like, yes. She's like, oh yeah, I watched that video. She's really good. She's so good that she's scary. She's like, well, that's why I call her Shinobu-chan, because she's my rival. And then she, like, looks like the forest, like, she looks so much like, I have a rival now. This is so great. Then she says, I met Arata at Nationals. But then she says, he doesn't show up in my dreams. And we cut to the back of Taichi's head. Bitch, you couldn't give us his reaction? You are sadistic, mangaka. You are sadistic. She's like, I've been dreaming of Shinobu lately, but I haven't ever dreamed of Arata. And Taichi's sitting here like, yes. But knowing Taichi, overthinking it, he's probably like, well, she doesn't view Arata as a rival because she's in love with him. Like, he's probably viewing it that way. But oh my God. And then, yeah, give us the back of Taichi's head. How dare you? And she says, I want to meet him and not in my dreams. And we see, like, the little vision of him. And we cut to him. I love that this whole series, Chihaya has been being like, I don't want to see Arata in my dreams. I want to see him in real life. And Taichi's like, I'm losing to Arata, and Arata and Chihaya are together. Meanwhile, this angel being, this patron saint of a human, is just like, hi, sir, will you help me get back into Karuta and help me heal my trauma? Unaware of everything else going on. Just like, I can't help but love Arata, though. He is an angel baby. Not just because Hosoyo voices him, because he's an angel baby. And then this bean of a man shows up, and he's like, he's clearly his grandfather's friend. And he's like, okay, you finally came. You decided to come now. And Arata's like, you knew I was going to come? He's so innocent. Arata's such an innocent being. Ugh. Mangaka. Cruel. Cruel to us. I want to join the Nagumo Society. All right. Which is fascinating because there's been comparisons and similarities between Arata and Shinobu, but Shinobu practices alone for reasons that we'll probably find out later on. And Arata is joining a society. All right. Get you that social activity. I thought whenever Shinobu rose up into frame in the next part, that she was like doing push-ups. That girl was like doing push-ups or planking or something, like as part of her training. But no, she is practicing alone. Very similarly to Arata. Now, she's also like in a room with all mats, and there's like it looks like a statue. So I'm like, I don't know if it's supposed to be like a ceremonial, like someone's buried there or whatever. I don't know. But then everybody keeps practicing. And we cut back to Chihaya and the group trying to get better. Interesting. But yeah, that's the episode. Oh, oh, oh. I can't believe that it's only episode 15 and we're already done with Nationals. I did not see that coming. I thought we would be spending the rest of the season at Nationals doing episode by episode. I am floored that that's not what we're doing. But okay. So, anyway, this episode's been amazing. Next week we will be watching. I do want to watch episode 16, not only because I've heard there's some extra scenes and I want to see those and comment about them and react to them, but also it'll be cool to just walk through the episode and react to like what they choose to recap. So we're going to do that. We're going to talk about it, and then we're going to react to episode 17. So it's going to be a two-parter. Like a two for one. Does not happen often because of my schedule and because I've literally talked about this episode for 43 minutes. So, anyway, I'm excited to hear your comments down below. I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'll be back very soon with episodes 16 and 17 of Chihayafuru.